Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Black Doctors Talk podcast. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, and member of what? The Black Doctoral Network. Yes, the best organization walking around on this planet. Today, I am joined by a very smart young lady. She's a bright sister here. She goes by the name of Dr. Arielle Miller. She is an extraordinary individual in her own right. She's got a lot going on, guys. She is a nuclear scientist who has served as an officer in the U.S. Navy. Thank you for your service. Worked in both the public and private sector, and currently leads an innovation for the federal government. She's got some clearances, people. In addition, she has co-founded the MGAM Scholarship Foundation in 2020, a nonprofit and scholarship for young Black and African-American women entering into the post-secondary world. So guys, this is going to be a great interview. I'm glad that she decided to join us, and I'm happy to share with you Dr. Arielle Miller. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. And I guess this would be breaking news, but actually I just recently left the federal government. I know.
Breaking news right here on the podcast before. So we got to dive into what you're doing now then.
Right now, I'm doing a bit of consulting and continuing to grow my PhD coaching business.
Awesome. So let's start before we get into all of that big work, right? That's the heavy lifting. Let's talk about you when you were younger. Who was a young Arielle? What did she like? What was she doing? What were her interests?
Let's see. Young Arielle loved to play hopscotch. And I kind of, if you've ever watched Hogwarts or like Harry Potter and you've seen like the scene with Hermione and her hands raised and she's like, ooh, pick me at the front of the class, that was me in class. But I always really love school, just loved riding my bike, just a regular kid.
Yeah. So what was it about school that you like? Because I am a self-professed school geek, definitely. I always was a teacher's pet, which I enjoyed. I'm not ashamed of that. So what was it about school that you liked?
I really enjoyed learning. I liked knowing things and I liked learning things. And that joy kind of never went away. I just always been like a lifelong learner.
So was there always a love for science, or was it just a love for all of the contents at that time?
For everything. I loved history, loved reading. I don't remember when I kind of fell in love with science and math, but it was like at a pretty early age. I was one of those people that like algebra actually made sense. Like when they started adding letters to the math, and I was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
So the more equations I got, the happier I got. Chemistry actually was really difficult for me because there weren't enough equations. It was like, talk about this reaction. And I was like, what do you mean talk about it?
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, yeah, I was the same way. Like, and that's probably why I did not love history as much, because it was so factual. There was nothing for me to figure out. So in high school, I was like, you have to know all these dates, right? I'm like, okay, I'm memorizing these dates, but the way my brain works, I need to do something with them. And there was nothing to do but just to understand the date and the event that happened on that date. So that was always a struggle for me. I had always leaned towards English because I could be so creative. And then the science part, because I'm trying to figure things like, I have an inference, right? I have a prediction, I have a theory. And then the math was always something that I really enjoyed. So I was that kid in the front too, raising their hand, who often the teacher's like, Chris, put your hand down.
And I'm like, well, why though? I know the answer. You know that I know the answer. We can just forget about all these other people. We could just have a conversation.
And I'm like, look around. Nobody else has their hands up. It's just you and me, lady. Let's get this together. We're working together. We're a team here. I love that. So you graduate high school, enter into college, majoring in
Physics.
physics. Listen, guys, not biology, not not chemistry, straight up physics. Trust me, I was in that world. I was around those other science majors. The physics kids were a different breed of kid. So tell me about the undergrad experience.
So undergrad, I was also doing Naval Reserve Officer Training course. So I had that going on, waking up early in the morning. First year physics was it was a weed out course, because also like the 7-year medical student folks were going through at the same time. So it definitely felt like that kind of weed out course. But once you got through that, it really didn't, not that it wasn't hard, but it wasn't unnecessarily hard. It wasn't until quantum was the next time that I really just was like, oh, wow, this is a bit challenging. I'm going to have to really think about how I study for this. But it was, I mean, I enjoyed my undergraduate experience. I enjoyed the challenge of physics. I enjoyed that there weren't that many people getting a physics degree. Like there was something, like I said, I enjoy equations and I enjoy learning the math behind what's going on. And so that's incredibly satisfying to me.
So let's talk about you walking as a young lady into two spaces at that time where you didn't see a lot of people that looked like yourself. So number one, in an area of physics in undergrad, and then you just mentioned into the U.S. Navy as well.
Yeah, and then you could add a third, because I got picked up for the Navy nuke program. So the aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
So I got picked up into that program.
So how did it feel? You're one of few, maybe the only one sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was definitely like high on the being one of few and that accomplishment. There was I think maybe 5 or 7 of us total, and there was only one other woman that graduated with a physics degree, a white woman that graduated along with me. And I feel terrible that I can't remember her name, because we were such good study buddies at the time. But she was great.
She is important, guys.
She's important. She's important. I'm terrible with names. And I felt really, special and important, for getting through the program to get commissioned and to be a surface nuke. At the time, being 21, that's all I had. And this was back in like 2003. We didn't have as much language and understanding as we do now. But, looking back on it, it was the start of, a lot of really lonely and isolating experiences.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody really ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that were trying to survive and cut their own space, and there weren't really any Black women. And so you just kind of had to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Wow. I can only imagine. But you did it, and you did it well for 5 years, right?
Yes.
So what did you learn, or what did you take away from that experience that helped propel you to your next thing? One thing about yourself, most importantly.
One thing about myself that prepared me for my next thing. Well, I don't know if I picked it up right away, but definitely something that I pulled from that experience was, you're around a very masculine environment, a very white masculine environment, and it's not always a very supportive or engaging environment. And it's easy to have that environment kind of tell you, you need to be like us, but you're never going to be like them.
Mhm.
And what I realized walking away from that was that who I was and the space that I took up was right and necessary, and that their approach wasn't necessarily right or necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed some distance from that in order to realize that, but that's one of my takeaways.
Yeah, because it wasn't the way you felt wasn't a reflection of you. It was a reflection of the culture that they were trying to get you to buy into, and you're like, nah,
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's what I am, or who I am, or what I can do.
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of people will stay in situations because they may see opportunity, but there's no joy in that.
Yeah.
They lack peace, and like you said, there's a feeling of isolation. I'm here, I'm doing work, but I don't feel connected to this organization, right? And that's hard to make a decision at some point to say, I think I'm going to walk away from this. Because even though you were one of the few, being the first creates other opportunities because they want to continue to say, oh, well, we do have this person that can fill in this check mark, right? Who represents all of these other cultures and minorities for us. And so you're like, no, I don't want to fill in all your boxes, right? You're going to find somebody else to do that. So you leave. And then what do you leave? You go into doing what?
I go into the commercial sector working at nuclear, and working for GE, and then for Ariba, again, working in nuclear, working on various parts of the nuclear fuel cycle, and then coming back into service with the federal government. Yeah, and I stayed there until just recently.
Yeah. And then you also went and added some other letters behind your name.
I did.
So we do know you went on, you got your master's in nuclear engineering from North Carolina State. And then something in you said, I need more. That more was a doctorate. And so you went and got your doctorate in mechanical engineering from the esteemed university, Howard University. So talk about, number one, deciding to go back and then making an intentional decision to go back to get those higher degrees at HBCUs.
So I always wanted to get my PhD ever since I was an undergrad. At the time, I thought I would get it in physics. My journey took me on a different direction. And I had a mentor at GE when, because I started my master's shortly after starting it at GE. And he said something to me that kind of stuck with me. He said, do you want a career or do you want a job? And, he mentioned that a job's something like you just punch a clock, and a career is something that you kind of devote your time to, even outside of. And I knew at that point that I wanted a career. I didn't just want a job. And so at the time, I thought I would go all the way through master's and PhD in nuclear engineering. So I started my master's nuclear engineering at North Carolina State. GE had a really great relationship with North Carolina State, and I was able to do it, in a kind of a hybrid fashion. And it was a little intimidating, having been out of school for 5 years and needing to get back into the math and I had a really great professor because I kept apologizing for asking questions all the time. And he said, you don't have to apologize if you already knew this, you wouldn't need to take the class. And it really made me feel a lot better
Yeah.
about not knowing things. And I took about a year off between my PhD, maybe a little bit longer than a year off between my master's and my PhD. And by the time I got to my PhD, so much had changed about the nuclear industry. We had gone through Fukushima, we had gone through the recession, all of the great excitement around building nuclear reactors, and I'd been on a project to build a uranium enrichment facility that unfortunately just didn't pan out. And it made me really think about just expanding my horizons outside of nuclear. So, and a friend of mine had just finished his master's, his MBA at Howard. And I thought about the kind of environment I wanted to be in for what I knew was going to be an incredibly stressful and incredibly intensive program. I knew I wanted to do something local. I'm from the DC area. I work in the DC area rather. And I thought that being in that HBCU environment would just kind of add a layer of support that I wouldn't find at a PWI.
Yeah. Yeah, been there. Been there. And and I've never all of my degrees are from all PWIs, every last one of them. And I always ask myself, did I miss out on an experience? I definitely can say I received quality education from all of my schools. But I've visited several HBCUs. I've gone and been entertained there, and I've socialized in those spaces. And I can definitely, there's something different just in the atmosphere. I can't explain it, but there's a level of safety, almost like when you get together with other people from BDN. There's just this kindred spirit of support, and you feel safe. That's the best way I can say it. And I can only imagine what that feels like in the classroom with a professor that is almost rooting you on, like the biggest cheerleader. And so I think there's one more degree out there for me somewhere. My wife would probably say that's enough. But I think I want to get it from an HBCU. I have one in mind. I'm not going to say what that is. I feel like I need that experience. And so I know at the doctorate level, I'm sure, and you didn't have the other experience, but I'm sure the level of support that you got was amazing.
It was.
And so you finish that up. Now, I'm not even going to try to talk about what your dissertation was in. I'm going to let you talk about that because that is definitely out of my wheelhouse. So tell us, what did you research?
So I focused on additive manufacturing, so 3D printing. And I wanted to include nuclear engineering as part of my research, but I wanted to kind of explore a different type of radiation. So I looked at proton radiation. So I focused on the effects of proton radiation on the mechanical performance of 3D printed plastic, ABS, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene plastic, which is a really fancy chemical name for like the plastic that Legos are made out of. But it's also a very commonly used thermoplastic in 3D printers, and one that's used up in like the space station. So I just looked at how proton radiation, which is a very common form of radiation found in space, would affect the mechanical performance of those parts.
And guys, she continues to put herself in spaces where her name goes down in history. So she's gonna be modest about it, but she is only the third woman to receive a doctoral degree in mechanical engineering from Howard University. So that kudos to you, hats off.
Thank you.
I mean, you're just making strides. And she's such a young woman, such a
Thank
young
you.
woman. So I'm super proud of you. I'm super happy to connect with you and share you with the world right now. So I know the journey was hard. It's never easy. But talk a little bit about the level of pride that you felt when you finished, considering you said when you were an undergrad, you knew you wanted to get your doctorate.
Oh, I was very, very proud. It it was definitely something that was a journey 20 years in the making. It I was thankful for my friends and family along the way that supported me. Um, it it's definitely a career achievement
Yeah.
and something that I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah. That's awesome. And people always talk about the support. Sometimes it may not be like significant, right? But sometimes that one phone call to say, you can do this, hang in there, take a break and then get back into it. And that's all you really need. Somebody just to root you on, because technically they can't help you in the way that many of us want help. We have to do it ourselves. But you just need somebody just giving you that encouraging word from time to time when you just kind of hit a dry spell, you're just not feeling it. Honestly, the motivation is low and you're like, ugh, I just don't feel it today. And somebody's like, hey, come on now. You've already spent all this time researching and studying. You can do this. And you're like, you're right. And who better to do that than like a parent or a friend? A friend says a little bit different, but a parent is like, oh, come on, baby, you can do it. So yeah. Now, with everything you've done, and you have such a long career ahead of you, you've probably never thought about this, but what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that one was that one was a tough one to think about. Um I try in every space that I walk into to make it better for the people that walk in after me, especially Black women.
Mhm.
Um, I still am more often than not the only one when I walk into a room. That hasn't changed. As I've gone up and up in my career, um, that aspect of the room hasn't changed. I'm still usually the only one. Um, and but I see so many more coming after me, and so um, I try as much as I am able to change that space when I'm in it, so that I make it better for them. I don't know, and I may never find out how much I've actually made an impact or changed anything, or impacted any women that I've mentored or taught. But that's what I hope my legacy is.
Yeah. And you're already doing it though. You're making a difference now because you are, like you said, you're trying to create a path. And so one of the ways you're doing that is by MGAM. I'm calling it MGAM. You may not call it that. So let's talk a little bit about that, and then your passion for that work.
Yes. So the MGAM Scholarship Foundation, I co-founded with my dear friend Melissa Green. It was actually her idea. She called me up during the pandemic, right after, it was during in the wake of everything happening with George Floyd. And we were trying to figure out a way to do something um, and create something out of that horrible situation. And she had this beautiful idea for a scholarship to help Black women um, who were entering into college. And she asked me if I would help her start the nonprofit, and help her, and be on the board. And I was looking for a way to uh, be of service and to do something in the education space, and to learn about nonprofits. And so I jumped on and I said, yes, absolutely. And we created it along with her sister, Dr. Alicia Green. And it's been going strong. Our application is currently open for those who want to apply, mgamfoundation.org. And this is our, I believe, third year of having scholarships, and it's just amazing. And we've given out 4 scholarships already, and we're just so proud of our scholarship recipients and the applicants that apply. And it's just it's something I'm just so proud of.
Yeah, I can hear that in your voice. Like when I mentioned it, you just kind of lit up. It was a whole different vibe going on. It is. I mean, giving back is just, it makes you feel good, right? And when you know you
Yes.
give it to deserving, especially young people, it's like, I can't do it all, but I'm just doing the best I can to support this individual and creating their own path in life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Is there, for the students that are out there watching, or parents that are watching and they're saying, well, can anybody apply from any area? Or is this relegated to students in the DC area?
No, it's not relegated to students in the DC area at all. It's anywhere within the US, and the application criteria is on our website. It's for Black women, African American, and of the Black diaspora, or the African diaspora, sorry, and cis or transgender. Yeah, and then there's just some criteria about GPA and stuff like that. But yeah.
And inclusive people. Listen, she's not playing.
We're not playing.
Not playing, people. So yeah, thank you for that shameless plug, but not really shameless. We're doing what we're doing here. I do want to kind of navigate next into your consulting. I'm so excited to hear you're saying you're jumping into this consulting world. Welcome to the world of consulting.
Yes.
It is a world, let me tell you. So let's talk about what you're doing and what you hope to get from this experience.
Yeah. It's new for me.
Mhm.
I hope to be able to explore a lot of the different facets of my resume and career, everything from nuclear to education, and PhD coaching and consulting for universities, to DEI work from my experiences within industry. So I know that's a little broad, but I have kind of, had a lot of experiences, both, both wide and deep. So I'm excited to, jump into that arena.
I mean, you've got federal experience, and so I think that'll also help you with those contracts that are out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there for those who are considering going to consulting. If you have experience and an expertise and a gift and passion to contribute to your field, don't be afraid. It is a leap, trust me. Once you jump, don't hold on to the ledge. You just have to let go. But I promise you, you'll find your way, but give yourself a couple of years to figure it out. And because you have so much experience, the work is going to just start coming to you. It will.
Thank you.
It really, really will. And people are looking for diverse people as well, right? They're tired of getting the same people to come in and provide services. And so because you look different and you look either like many people that work there, or they know people need somebody in something different, you represent all of that. And I think that's a great space that you're navigating into now. And again, because you are so young, that you've got some time to really like hone this and make it whatever you want to make it. Now, I will throw this out there. being a professor, adjunct, I can see that in your future as well. When you
I
think
have
about
put my name in a few hats. We're still waiting to hear back. I would absolutely love to adjunct. I love teaching. I love talking to students. So that's not outside of the realm either.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I could definitely see that. Let's talk a little bit about you and BDN. I know you just joined us kind of recently. So what are you looking forward to by joining the organization? We're already excited to be connected with you. So let's talk a little bit about what you're hoping to get from being with us.
My goodness. Definitely the networking. At the beginning of the interview, I talked about like the isolation. And that's never really gone away. There's just even as there are more of us, we're so spread out.
Yep.
So in any given one area, one company that we work in, there may be only one of us or one or two of us. And so just the ability to network now that, there's, these affinity groups like BDN that are out there to network and commune with and talk with, and it's just so exciting. I know you guys have annual conferences that I'm really excited to go to, and just those are some of the things I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we definitely need you to come to our next big conference. We need you to present. I can only imagine, because we have a lot of undergrads that come and those who are in master's program that we talk with. And they're always amazed, number one, to see other Black doctoral, not candidates, and we do have some of those that come too, but those who have completed, and they have so many questions because they're at their institutions, there's nobody they feel comfortable talking to. So they'll talk your ear off. They're like, oh, they'll be Dr. Miller, I need your number. Give me an email address. Let's connect.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's so rewarding to know that you are filling up that space for them. And so we definitely want to see you at our next conference. And again, guys, for those that are watching, if you don't know, we have so many virtual events as well. For those that are in doctor programs, we have virtual writing events, right? We know sometimes you just need that quiet space to write for 2 hours uninterrupted. And so we offer that. We offer so many things. And so we're also bringing great experts to you like Dr. Miller. So don't hesitate to join us. She's a great example of the talents that we have within this organization. So Dr. Miller, I want to say, number one, thank you for joining me today for this interview. I know that somebody watching this is like, wow, I'm so impressed by her. So give somebody a piece of advice if they want to enter into this space, right? They want to major in maybe physics. They want to be into this whole nuclear space. What one piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, okay. That I'm trying to figure out the right way to say it. It's really easy to come into a space in science and look around and think that you're the only one that doesn't understand, or you're the only one that doesn't get it, or the way that you're thinking through a problem is wrong, and you can kind of stay quiet about it. And I would encourage you to ignore those thoughts, because number one, most people don't get it. They're faking it, or, very early in undergrad, we're all kind of faking it. We're all just kind of going through the motions, but it's really about developing your process and how you think, and how you think is really, really important. And we need you in this space, and we need you to take up the space and talk through your process and talk about how you think. And share that with your professors, and go to office hours and communicate about what you get and what you don't get, because we need more people who think differently and who attack problems differently to be in the space of science. And just because everybody else is attacking it one way doesn't mean that that's the only way or the right way.
Yeah. I love that. See, Love it. Love it. I love that. Now, also, if you don't mind, share with people where they can go to find out more about you and everything that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. So you can go to my website, www.ariellemiller.com, to find out more about me, what I'm doing, to get in contact with me. That's the best place.
All right, guys, you have it right there. I need you to stop what you're doing. Go follow Dr. Miller because she's doing great work. And for those of you that need somebody like her, she's ready to be hired. Her services are available. I want you to call her until she can take no more calls. All right.
Thank you.
She's gonna be booked and busy. So get her now before it's too late. So thank you guys for watching. Again, follow Dr. Miller. While you're following Dr. Miller, go and find us. We would love to connect with you as an organization and support you here at BDN. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be back again with another amazing guest next week. But until then, please like, share, and subscribe. And like I always tell you, be safe and more importantly, be blessed. See you guys next time.